The courtroom in downtown Manhattan buzzed with tension as the lawyer cleared his throat, unfolding the last will and testament of Richard Hargrove. To my adopted daughter, Emily Hargrove, I bequeath 90% of my estate, including the family home in the Hamptons, the investment portfolio, and the controlling shares in Hargrove Enterprises, he read aloud. Gasps echoed through the room, but none louder than from Sarah, Richard's biological daughter, whose face drained of color as the truth hit her like a freight train. Her father had chosen the outsider over his own blood. Emily sat frozen in her seat, her heart pounding not from joy but from dread. At 28, she had always felt like an intruder in the Hargrove family, adopted at age 10 after her parents' tragic car accident. Richard and his wife, Margaret, had taken her in, but the undercurrents of resentment from Sarah, then just 8, had never fully dissipated. Now this bombshell inheritance amplified everything. Sarah's eyes locked onto Emily's, a storm brewing behind them, and in that moment, Emily knew the fragile peace they had built was about to crumble. As the reading concluded, the family dispersed into the hallway, where Margaret pulled Emily aside. "He always saw you as the responsible one, dear." Sarah, "Well, she's been reckless." Her voice was laced with apology, but Emily could sense the unspoken accusation that she had somehow manipulated this outcome. Sarah stormed out without a word, her heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. Emily chased after her, grabbing her arm in the parking garage. "Sarah, wait. This isn't what I wanted." Sarah whipped around, her emerald eyes flashing with betrayal. "Isn't it? You've always been the perfect one, haven't you? Dad's little favorite. But you know what? This proves it. You're not family. You're just a leech." The words stung like acid, but Emily held back, knowing the real secret that could destroy them both. For the past 2 years she and Sarah had been lovers, hiding their passion behind closed doors, terrified of the fallout in their conservative, affluent world. That night, back in the family brownstone on the Upper East Side, Emily paced her room, replaying the day's events. The inheritance was a curse disguised as a gift. Richard had confided in her months before his death from cancer, praising her business acumen and stability, qualities he felt Sarah lacked due to her impulsive nature. But he didn't know about their relationship. No one did. Emily had met Sarah's gaze across family dinners, felt the electric pull, and one rainy evening after a heated argument about inheritance rumors, they had kissed fiercely, desperately, in the library. The memory flooded her now, mixed with guilt. Was it love or rebellion? Sarah, at 26, was a whirlwind of emotion, dropping out of law school to pursue art, clashing with their parents' expectations. Emily, with her MBA and role at the family firm, embodied the stability they craved. But in each other's arms, they found escape from the pressures. Now, with the will exposed, Emily feared Sarah would see her as the enemy, not the lover. The next morning, Margaret called a family meeting. Seated around the mahogany dining table, the air thick with unspoken grievances, she announced, "We need to contest this. It's not right, Sarah. Your father must have been influenced." Sarah nodded vigorously, but Emily interjected, "Mom, he was sound of mind. He told me why." The room fell silent. Margaret's face hardened. "And why was that, Emily?" "Because you're the good daughter." Emily swallowed hard, choosing her words carefully. "He thought I could protect the legacy." "Sarah, you've said yourself you don't want the business." Sarah slammed her fist on the table. "That's not the point. It's mine by blood. You're just adopted." The word hung like a noose. Emily felt a crack in her resolve. That afternoon, alone in Central Park, she met Sarah in secret, their usual spot by the Bethesda fountain. "Why didn't you fight for me in there?" Sarah whispered, her voice breaking. Emily pulled her close, risking a glance around. "I can't lose you over this. But if we come out..." Sarah pulled away. "Come out? To them? They'd disown us both." The conflict tore at Emily. Family or love? She had chosen love in secret, but now the inheritance forced a public reckoning. As days turned to weeks, the legal battle brewed. Margaret hired a top attorney to challenge the will on grounds of undue influence, claiming Emily had coerced Richard during his illness. Emily, defending her position, felt the weight of isolation. At work, colleagues whispered, siding with Sarah as the real heir. Social media buzzed with rumors in their elite circle. Old money families loved a scandal. One evening, Emily found Sarah in her studio, paint smeared across her hands. "We need to talk," Emily said. Sarah looked up exhausted. "About us or the money?" "Both." They argued fiercely. Sarah accusing Emily of greed, Emily pleading for understanding. In a moment of vulnerability, Sarah confessed, "I love you, but this inheritance makes me hate you." Emily's heart shattered. Was their love strong enough to survive this? The pressure mounted when Margaret discovered old emails between Emily and Richard discussing business strategies. "Proof of manipulation," she declared. Emily faced her in the living room, voice steady. "I earned his trust. You know that." But Margaret's response cut deep. "You're not my daughter." Not really. The rejection fueled Emily's inner turmoil. Adopted, yet never fully accepted. Sarah, torn between loyalty to her mother and her feelings for Emily, began pulling away. Late-night texts dwindled, secret meetings canceled. Emily lay awake, questioning every decision. Had she betrayed the family by accepting the inheritance? Or was it Richard's final act of fairness? The first court hearing loomed, a powder keg ready to explode. Emily prepared her testimony, but doubt gnawed at her. If the truth about her and Sarah emerged, it wouldn't just contest the will. It would obliterate the family. The Manhattan courthouse loomed like a judgment hall as Emily stepped inside, her lawyer by her side. The hearing to contest the will had begun, and the air was thick with anticipation. Margaret and Sarah sat across the aisle, their attorney painting Emily as a cunning interloper who had wormed her way into Richard's affections during his vulnerable final months. "Miss Hargrove exploited her position," he argued, presenting emails and visitor logs from the hospital. Emily took the stand, her voice steady despite the churning in her stomach. "My father, Richard, trusted me because I proved myself. I didn't ask for this." But under cross-examination, the questions turned personal. "Isn't it true you have a strained relationship with the family?" She glanced at Sarah, who avoided her eyes, and felt a pang of betrayal. "We've had differences like any family." After the session in a quiet coffee shop nearby, Emily confronted Sarah. "You didn't even look at me. Are you on her side now?" Sarah fidgeted with her cup. "Mom's hurting, Em. And honestly, this money, it's changing you." Emily recoiled. "Changing me? I'm fighting for what Dad wanted." But deep down, she wondered if Sarah was right. The inheritance had become a symbol of her worth, a validation against years of feeling like an outsider. That night, alone in her apartment, she had moved out of the brownstone to avoid tension. Emily scrolled through old photos. One from their teen years. Her and Sarah at a family vacation in the Hamptons, arms around each other, innocent smiles. When had it shifted? It was college when Sarah came out to her privately, confessing crushes on women. Emily, suppressing her own feelings, supported her. But after graduation, living under the same roof again, the attraction ignited. A knock at the door startled her. It was Margaret, unannounced. "We need to settle this privately," she said, stepping in. Her eyes scanned the modest space, a far cry from the family wealth. "Give up half to Sarah and we'll drop the suit." Emily hesitated. Seemed fair, but it felt like surrender. "Why can't you accept Dad's decision?" Margaret's face softened momentarily. "Because you're not blood. And Sarah needs this to find her way." The words echoed Richard's concerns. Sarah's impulsiveness, her failed relationships, her art career struggling. But Emily knew Sarah's depth, her passion. Rejecting the offer, Emily said, "I won't betray his trust." Margaret left in anger, slamming the door. The decision cost Emily sleep, her mind racing with moral dilemmas. Was preserving the legacy worth fracturing the family? Sarah called later, voice hushed. "Mom told me about the offer. Why refuse?" "Because it's not just money, it's about fairness." Their conversation turned heated. Sarah accusing Emily of selfishness. "Maybe we should end this." "Us." The threat hung heavy. Emily begged, "Don't. We can get through it." But Sarah hung up, leaving Emily in silence. The next week, a betrayal surfaced. Emily's lawyer informed her that Sarah had provided a statement supporting the contest, claiming Emily had undue influence over Richard. Reading it, Emily's world tilted. Sarah detailed private conversations where Emily allegedly pushed for more responsibility in the firm. She knew Dad was weak, the statement read. Tears streamed down Emily's face. How could the woman she loved do this? Confronting Sarah at her studio, Emily burst in. You threw me under the bus. Sarah, surrounded by half-finished canvases depicting turbulent emotions, looked guilty. I had to for Mom. For us. Maybe if you lose we can start over without this hanging over us. Emily laughed bitterly. By betraying me? That's not love. The argument escalated, words like weapons. Sarah admitted the pressure from Margaret, the fear of losing her mother's approval. Emily stormed out, but not before Sarah grabbed her arm. I love you, but family comes first. The irony burned, they were family in a twisted way. That night, Emily confided in her best friend, Lisa, over drinks in a dimly lit bar in Greenwich Village. It's not just the money. It's us. If it comes out. Lisa, one of the few who knew their secret, advised caution. Society's changing, but your family's old school. Coming out could cost everything. The inner conflict raged. Emily attended therapy, unpacking years of adoption trauma, the feeling of not belonging, the need to prove herself. Her therapist probed. Is the inheritance a stand-in for acceptance? It hit home. Meanwhile, social pressures mounted. Friends in their circle whispered about the adopted usurper, fueling Emily's isolation. A turning point came at a family friend's gala. Sarah approached her discreetly in the garden. I'm sorry for the statement. Mom pushed me. Emily, hurt but hopeful, whispered. Withdraw it. Sarah hesitated. I can't. Not yet. The indecision frustrated Emily. As they parted, a photographer snapped a photo, innocent, but in their world rumors spread fast. Back home, Emily discovered anonymous emails threatening to expose family secrets if she didn't settle. Paranoia set in. Was it Margaret? A rival? The stakes rose, forcing Emily to question loyalties. She decided to dig into Sarah's motives, hiring a private investigator discreetly. The report shocked her. Sarah had been seeing someone else, a man, perhaps a beard, to appease Margaret. Confrontation loomed again. Emily met Sarah in the park, report in hand. Is this true? Sarah's face paled. It's nothing. Just dinners to make Mom happy. But the lie cracked their trust. Emily felt the damage, betrayal for betrayal. How can I trust you now? The hearing resumed with Sarah on the stand. Under oath, she wavered, her statement crumbling as Emily's lawyer pressed. Did Emily coerce your father? Sarah glanced at Emily, tears welling. No. She earned it. The courtroom murmured. Margaret gasped. Sarah had flipped, choosing truth over family pressure. But the victory was Pyrrhic. Margaret disowned Sarah verbally in the hallway. Traitor. Emily reached for her, but Sarah pulled away. See what you've done? The cost of her decision weighed heavy. In the aftermath of Sarah's testimony, the judge ruled in Emily's favor, upholding the will. The inheritance was hers, the Hamptons estate, the millions in assets, the power at Hargrove Enterprises. But as Emily signed the papers in her lawyer's office, victory tasted like ash. Sarah hadn't spoken to her since the hearing, and Margaret had cut off all contact, retreating to a friend's home in Connecticut. Emily threw herself into work, restructuring the company to honor Richard's vision. Board meetings became her refuge, numbers and strategies a distraction from the emotional void. At 28, she should have felt empowered, but isolation crept in. Nights were spent in the empty brownstone, echoes of family laughter mocking her. She questioned her choices. Had defending the inheritance been worth losing everyone? A week later, Sarah appeared at her door, bags in hand. Mom kicked me out. Emily let her in, the air charged with unresolved tension. They sat in the kitchen, sipping coffee in silence. Finally, Sarah spoke. I testified for you because it was right. Dad saw your strength. Emily nodded but probed. And the man? The dinners? Sarah sighed. A setup by Mom to normalize me. I never wanted it. Relief washed over Emily, but trust was frayed. We can't hide forever. Sarah agreed, but fear lingered. Society, our friends, the business world, they judge us. In their conservative enclave, same-sex relationships were tolerated in theory, but not in old money families like theirs. The moral dilemma deepened. Live authentically or conform? They decided to try, moving in together under the guise of sisters reconciling. But whispers started. At charity events, colleagues raised eyebrows at their closeness. One evening at a dinner party, a family friend cornered Emily. "You two seem attached. Is there something we should know?" Emily deflected, but the seed of exposure was planted. Inner conflicts intensified. Sarah struggled with her art, inspiration drying up amid the stress. "I feel like I'm losing myself," she confessed one night, curled up on the couch. Emily held her, but guilt gnawed. Had she dragged Sarah into this abyss? Therapy sessions for both revealed layers. Sarah's resentment toward her privileged yet suffocating upbringing, Emily's adoption wounds manifesting as overachievement. A betrayal from an unexpected source hit hard. Lisa, Emily's confidant, leaked details to a gossip columnist, perhaps for personal gain. The article appeared in a New York tabloid. Hargrove heiress's secret affair with her sister? Though not blood-related, the headline screamed scandal. Phones rang off the hook. Board members demanded explanations. Margaret, interviewed, denounced them. Disgraceful. Richard would be ashamed. Alone, Emily confronted her reflection. The inheritance had given her power, but at what price? She considered relinquishing it all, donating to charity, stepping down. But that felt like defeat. Instead, she called a press conference, deciding to come out on her terms. The event in a midtown hotel drew crowds. Flanked by supportive LGBTQ advocates she had quietly contacted, Emily spoke. "Sarah and I are in love. We're not blood siblings, our bond is chosen. The inheritance was my father's wish, but our love is ours." Cameras flashed, questions flew. Sarah, watching from afar, felt a mix of pride and terror. Margaret reacted furiously, filing a new suit claiming moral turpitude voided the will. Friends distanced themselves. Sarah returned, but changed, wary, hurt. "You outed us without asking." Emily apologized but defended. "Hiding was killing us." The confrontation highlighted their differences. Emily's decisiveness versus Sarah's caution. As legal battles reignited, emotional tolls mounted. Sarah suffered panic attacks, questioning her identity. "Am I doing this for you or me?" Emily reassured, but doubts crept in. A late-night call from Margaret offered an olive branch or trap. "Meet me alone." At a quiet cafe in Brooklyn, Margaret faced Emily. "End it with Sarah and I'll drop everything." The ultimatum struck at Emily's core. "Choose love or peace." "I can't," she said. Margaret left, tears in her eyes. "Then you've lost us both." Sarah, learning of the meeting, felt betrayed again. "You went without me?" Trust eroded further. They separated temporarily, Sarah crashing with a friend. Emily threw herself into advocacy, joining LGBTQ groups, finding purpose amid pain. But loneliness consumed her. Reconciliation attempts failed. Sarah dated others casually, testing boundaries. Emily heard rumors, jealousy burning. One explosive night, they met to divide assets. "This is what it's come to?" Sarah cried. Emily nodded, heartbroken. "We sacrificed too much." The climax built as the new trial approached, secrets poised to unravel further. The second trial unfolded in the same courthouse, but the atmosphere was electric. Media swarmed, protesters and supporters clashed outside. Margaret's lawyer argued that Emily's immoral relationship with Sarah demonstrated unfitness to inherit, citing outdated clauses in the will about upholding family honor. Emily's team countered with modern precedents, emphasizing equality and non-discrimination. On the stand, Emily detailed their story, not the romance but the adoption, the trust Richard placed in her. "He knew me better than blood." But cross-examination delved into personal territory. "Isn't your relationship with Sarah incestuous?" The question, though legally irrelevant, ignited public outrage. Emily responded calmly, "We're consenting adults, not related by blood. Love isn't defined by labels." Sarah testified next, her voice trembling. I love Emily. The inheritance divided us, but our bond is real. Margaret, in the audience, wept silently. The testimony humanized them, but backlash ensued, online hate, threats to the business. Hargrove Enterprises lost partners, stocks plummeted. Emily faced the board again, fighting to retain control. This is prejudice, not business. In private, the sisters' lovers struggled. Sarah moved back in, but intimacy waned, replaced by arguments. Your press conference made us targets, Sarah accused. Emily retorted. Hiding made us liars. The moral quandary deepened. Was authenticity worth the destruction? A shocking twist came via the investigator Emily had hired earlier. He uncovered that Margaret had known about their relationship for months, discovered through a private eye of her own. She used it to fuel the contest, he reported. Confronting Margaret at her Connecticut retreat, Emily demanded, Why? To punish us. Margaret broke down. I was scared. For Sarah, for the family name. The revelation forced a family summit. In the Hamptons' home, now Emily's, they gathered. Tensions boiled. Sarah exploded at Margaret. You spied on us? Margaret defended. To protect you from scandal. Emily mediated, but betrayal layered upon betrayal. We all made choices, she said. Now what? They talked through the night, tears, accusations, moments of understanding. Margaret admitted her own regrets. A loveless marriage to Richard, projecting expectations onto her daughters. Sarah confessed her fears of inadequacy. Emily revealed her adoption insecurities. Dawn brought fragile truce. Margaret dropped the suit but distanced herself. I need time. With legal battles over, Emily and Sarah focused on healing. They attended couples therapy, unpacking damages. We sacrificed trust for survival, the therapist noted. Slowly, they rebuilt. Dates in queer-friendly spaces, like Brooklyn's Pride events, finding community amid isolation. But society pushed back. At a business gala, a prominent client snubbed them. Not the image we want. Emily lost contracts, forcing layoffs. The cost was tangible, employees' livelihoods on the line. She debated selling shares but held firm, pivoting the company toward inclusive initiatives. Sarah's art flourished, channeling pain into powerful pieces on identity and family. A gallery show drew crowds, including hesitant supporters from their old circle. One painting depicted two women in embrace, shadowed by inheritance symbols. A hit, sparking debates. Yet, personal tolls lingered. Sarah experienced depression, questioning if love was worth the fight. Emily supported her, but exhaustion set in. A weekend getaway to the Catskills offered respite. Hiking trails, they talked openly. Do we regret us? Sarah asked. Emily paused. No. But the path was brutal. Returning, they faced a final betrayal. A disgruntled ex-employee leaked internal emails, twisting them to suggest favoritism. Media frenzy reignited. Emily resigned as CEO to protect the company. A massive sacrifice. For the greater good, she told Sarah. Now, with reduced wealth, having donated portions to LGBTQ causes, they lived modestly in a Brooklyn loft. Freedom came at a price. Lost status, strained ties. Margaret reached out sporadically, thawing slowly. As they navigated normalcy, awakenings emerged. Emily found strength in vulnerability, Sarah in independence. Their love, forged in fire, endured but scarred. Life in Brooklyn brought a semblance of peace, far from the Upper East Side's opulence. Emily consulted freelance, using her skills without the corporate weight. Sarah's art career soared, her story inspiring a series on queer family dynamics. They attended rallies, advocated for adoption rights and LGBTQ protections, turning pain into purpose. But shadows lingered. Holidays were lonely, Margaret's invitations tentative. At Thanksgiving, they visited Connecticut. Tension simmered, polite talk masking hurts. Margaret gifted Sarah a family heirloom, a subtle inclusion of Emily. You're both my daughters, she said softly. Tears flowed, forgiveness budding. Society's judgment persisted. Online trolls harassed, but support grew. Letters from others in similar situations. Emily wrote a memoir outline debating publication. To help others? Sarah encouraged. The decision weighed. Expose more or protect privacy? A crisis tested them anew. Sarah's health scare, a benign tumor, forced perspective. In the hospital, Emily held her hand. I can't lose you. Recovery strengthened bonds but highlighted fragility. Margaret visited, offering help. I've been wrong. Love is love. Full reconciliation came gradually. A family therapy session unearthed deep-seated issues. Margaret's conservative upbringing, Richard's favoritism stemming from his own adoption story, revealed posthumously. Understanding bred empathy. Emily and Sarah married quietly in a Central Park ceremony, friends and newfound allies attending. Margaret walked Sarah down the aisle, a tearful symbol of acceptance. The event, leaked to media, drew mixed reactions, praise from progressives, scorn from traditionalists. Post-marriage, they faced practical challenges. Emily's reduced income meant budgeting, a humbling shift. Sarah's success balanced it, but they debated children adoption mirroring Emily's path. Can we provide stability? Emily worried, echoing family pressures. Years passed, the inheritance's shadow fading. Hargrove Enterprises thrived under new leadership, Emily consulting occasionally. Social prejudices evolved but not vanished, subtle discriminations at events. In quiet moments they reflected on the journey. Confrontations that broke them, betrayals that tested, sacrifices that shaped. Emily wondered if Richard foresaw the chaos, his will a catalyst for truth. Their story sparked debates in circles, podcasts, articles questioning inheritance, family definitions, love's boundaries. One evening, watching a documentary on similar families, Sarah turned to Emily. Was it all worth it? Emily smiled, hand in hers. Yes. We awaken to who we are. But the question lingers. In a world of rigid norms, was defying family and society for forbidden love a heroic stand or a selfish unraveling?